Hey everyone. Hey Gym Nation. How are you? Happy Thursday. Oh my gosh. This week is almost done. We have some people in the building. If you're here now, just go ahead and hit like so people remember to drop in. YouTube will notify them. We are going to get started in a minute. You know how I like to say hi to the Gym Nation first, and then we will go ahead and set what, the agenda will look like tonight and get started. So, hey, Kiki B. Kiki says she's excited to hear about Sonja's experience, dropping in early to plug the Black Women's Freelancers community for those who decide they aren't going back to their old jobs. Okay. Hey, Larunda, welcome back. Hey, Crystal, you made it early tonight. Oh, goodness. Hey, Moni, welcome back. Let's see who else is here. Hi, Miss P. Good to see you back. Stephanie is in the building. Good to see you. Hey, everyone. So, I want to start off first because while I was getting my pupils dilated today, I was waiting for the, medicine to take effect. And I ran across an amazing post, a comment. And so I'm not going to pull it up, but just for the interest of time, but I do want to read it. You can check out my community tab. I reposted it and, congratulated someone. I don't know if she's new in the Gym Nation or if she comes regularly or she just watches the replay, but I just want to share what she shared today. And so let me go ahead and pull it up so I can read it. But this is what this movement is about. And every day it gets clearer and clearer that we are doing what we're supposed to do over here. So basically, it's CDP. Let me see. You know what? Let me share this. I'm going to share this. Present. Share screen. Share. And I have to pull it up on stage. Add to stage. Wrong one. Add to stage. Okay, so let's read what she had to say. So, and I think it's a she. I don't know. At CDP Smile said, "Hi, Cam. I just wanted to thank you for lighting a fire under me via your videos to get my passport renewed before the changing of the guards." She shares about her journey. She applied on December 3rd for the standard renewal online. She received her payment success notification on December 5th. She received an email notification on December 11th from the U.S. Postal Service informing her delivery service of a package to be delivered from Passport Services. She's in Hot Springs, Department of State Hot Springs, on 12/12 by 9 p.m. She received her passport on 12/12, and I guess this is military time at 14:24. And it was super fast and a painless process, 5 days or less than the 5 days after payment. Listen, nobody can't tell me anything. This movement is truly one that is divinely ordered. I am so happy for CDP Smile. She actually got hers much quicker than I got mine. And she's sharing her story. And I know that it will motivate other people to do it now instead of waiting until, the process may not be this easy. So go ahead. If you need to renew, if you need to get your first passport, go ahead and do that. And so without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce myself. Oh, no, I forgot to say hi to the rest of the people. I'm sorry. Some more people came in. Moni, Miss P, Stephanie, Miss P, Crystal, Kiki. Wait, there was, I have to say, Cynthia is here. This is my OG, Cynthia, from Atlanta. Thank you so much for coming by night after night. And this is my older cousin in Atlanta too. Oh my gosh. It's so ironic. So my cousin who just chimed in, he's a mega sci-fi. Cynthia, who's in Atlanta, is Delta. His two sisters are also Delta. So, and they're both in Atlanta as well. It is such a 3 degree of separation world that we live in. Okay, so hey everyone, what's up? I am Kim, aka Kim with the Gems, here at, I was going to say Black Travel and Culture, but that's not the name of the channel anymore. I am the founder and creator of the Black Travel and Culture community, the Black Travel and Culture brand, where we just inspire, we inform, we educate, we are there in support for all Black and Brown members of the travel space, of the travel community, or wannabe members of the travel space and travel community. We've been around since 2017. This channel, Kim, aka Kim with the Gems, is a branch off of the Black Travel and Culture community. It's simply titled Kim, aka Kim with the Gems. The topics we cover here: money, travel, and wellness from a cultural point of view, from a Black woman's perspective. And so part of my goal in doing this marathon live series, right? This is what, day 33 of lives? Yeah, we've been going, is it 32? Day 32 or 33 of lives every day to get us as a community to stay ready, to make the moves that we need to make in order to be prepared for whatever changes are coming. And so I truly want to not only be the voice on this platform, I also want to bring some people in who can help to amplify the message, to give their point of view, their experiences, to answer questions, right? Because I can't answer, my experience is not Deborah's experience, who was the founder or is the founder of the 60 plus Black women expat community. My experience is not Sonja's experience. Or is it Sonja? I'm sorry. So again, just bringing people on who can really speak truth to their truth to power, so that you can see that there's so many ways to stay ready. Let's just leave it at that. And without further ado, I am going to bring Sonja to the stage, and she's going to correct me if I mispronounced her name. And then we're going to get into the conversation.
Hi.
Hey, Sonja.
Hey, yeah, you said right the second time, Sonja.
Sonja. Okay, yeah, because I just mentioned I have a cousin who's Sonja, who lives in Atlanta. So Sonja, you're Sonja. Okay, wonderful. And the weird thing is, I've known Sonja now for 2.5 years, probably. We met in 2022, I want to say, in a beautiful place called Playa del Carmen. And I might have shared this with Sonja before, but one of the reasons that I chose Playa del Carmen as a place to scout to kind of take a break as well, because I wasn't even sure at that time if I was going to move to Mexico or get residency in Mexico. But one of the reasons that I decided to land in Playa del Carmen was because of a video that Sonja did on her YouTube channel. Because at that time I was just researching, and I came across this video of Sonja moving to Playa del Carmen on Tuesday. And it was February 2nd.
February 22nd.
February, which is the second month of the year, the 22nd day of the second month. And it was the year of 2022. And so she shares her experience. And she also started, dropping little videos about what it was like in Playa, and I was sold. And so I appreciate that, because I haven't looked back since. It's a great community for people who are looking for that soft landing, who are looking to explore a city where you can also find community. And so again, thank you for that, Sonja. And I am going to turn it over to you so you can just do a quick introduction of who you are, and then we'll get into the specifics and the questions of your career break sabbatical abroad?
Okay, well, my name is Sonja Stelly, and the reason why I'm giving my full government name here is because in the future I think I'm gonna brand more with my actual first and last name. But I go by Sonja Unapologetic on YouTube and on Instagram, and I started going back and forth to Mexico in 2020, the year when no one really didn't want us traveling like that. But in 2020 is when I started going back and forth from Dallas and visiting Mexico a lot. And a big reason was because of a lot of things I was dealing with in corporate America and just feeling like I was in a hostile work environment, feeling like my mental health was being affected. And so after going back and forth to Playa del Carmen in 2020 and 2021, in 2022, I finally did the move to Playa del Carmen. And I feel like the reason that I knew it was right, like I was looking for that like confirmation, like, is this right? I kept seeing 222 like everywhere. I kept seeing 222 everywhere. And at first you just feel like maybe this is just coincidence, but I felt like it was too like just too in my face. And I remember like when I signed my lease for my apartment, I just thought to myself after like a year, I was like, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and not renew my lease, and that will give me the opportunity to move to Mexico. But I didn't know the exact date of the end of my lease. And when I looked at my lease, the day that it ended was on 221. And so I was like, okay, well, I can get on a plane on 222. I was like, okay, here's the twos again. I'm like, the twos are just everywhere. And so that kind of gave me like more confirmation, like, okay, it's probably right for you to go ahead, and you feel like everything's lined up, go ahead and move to Playa del Carmen. But I feel like a big reason was with the way I felt in corporate America. And I think I'd gotten so used to like hostile work environments. Like, unfortunately, like all throughout, I started in corporate America at the age of 19. So I think just all throughout, my 20s and my 30s. So it's like 20 years of hostile work environments, but I thought that that was normal. But as I got older, it just really started to weigh heavy on my mental health and I think just my physical health as well. So that was a big reason that I knew that I needed just time to go and heal and breathe and get to know myself and just take time away from um, having to work and away from the country too. Because I felt like on top of that, everything that was going on in the country just added to the stress of everything.
Yeah, and it's perfect timing to revisit this conversation and the reason why you decided to take a career break, because we just did a live where we were talking about how women, since what happened a few weeks ago, a month ago now, women in the workplace are they're experiencing and suffering from extreme high functioning depression. And like I always say, and it's been said, when white women get a cold, black women get a fever, or not a fever, get the flu. And so when you talk about the traumas and experiences that you had in corporate America back then, they will be on the uptick, the uprise very soon if they're not happening to you already. And hopefully they won't, but the odds are basically stacked against us with the dismantling of DEI and affirmative action and all of that. So I believe this conversation is right on time. And so you talked about, the traumas and the way we get adjusted to dealing with them. And you also talked about you started visiting Mexico in 2020. This is a two-parter. So what made you set on going back to Mexico, and what made you set on picking Playa del Carmen as your destination for a career break?
For me, I was really just looking for a spot outside of US. Now, the whole Black exodus that was happening, it was a whole movement, and I kept following different people online.
Mhm.
Initially, that exodus was going to take me to the continent of Africa.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like as Black people, we romanticize Africa. Not saying that, a lot of people went and it was great for them, but I think we romanticized it a lot, and we had such a fairy tale view of what the continent was. Like, we're gonna get there and straight off the plane, they're gonna be like, my sister. It's like, you are home, my sister. It's like we just really romanticized what we thought it was gonna be. For one thing, I mean, I think that type of move was probably maybe a little bit too much for me at the time. But as I started to see YouTubers talk about how much, like, of course, anywhere you go is a culture shock, but that it was probably they bit off a little bit more than they can chew.
Mhm.
I was just like, maybe moving that far, like maybe I need to take some baby steps, like
Right.
maybe moving somewhere closer and not moving all the way across the planet. And so I saw Black in Tulum on Facebook. So I started to follow Black in Tulum, and I thought, well, maybe Tulum is the spot. And I went to visit Tulum in October of 2020. Um, I had fun, but that's when that Hurricane Delta was coming. So
Oh,
I
wow.
don't know how I ended up there not knowing that a hurricane was coming. I don't know what. So I end up having to cut my trip short and end up having to evacuate. But before I evacuated, we had a lot of fun. It's like I met up with some ladies that I had initially just met online through Black in Tulum.
Oh, okay.
And one of the ladies was staying close to my resort. So we hung out, and it was just like raining. And like at that point, I guess the hurricane hadn't come, but it was just still like bad weather. And so we asked the taxi driver, like, can you take us to Playa del Carmen? Because we knew another lady who was in Playa. And the
Okay.
guy was like, I don't know. There's probably trees down. There's probably some flooding on the road. And he's like, I'll try. And so he got us to Playa. We got to visit with one of the ladies there. Her electricity was off in the spot that she was staying
Oh, my.
in. So we like walked around Playa, and we found restaurants that did have electricity. Everyone was still partying and having a good time. We got back to her place. We're like reaching around in the dark, like, hey, you know where that bottle of liquor is at? And we just had like such a good time. I was like, you know what? I'm feeling a good vibe here. I think Playa del Carmen is it. It felt like Tulum was more for like vacation. It didn't seem like it was really set up for me to have everything I needed to live in Tulum.
Right.
Playa del Carmen seemed like that was where it was at. So I was like, when I do move to Mexico, Playa del Carmen is going to be it, which I ended up going back to the US. I didn't move until 2022. But the
Mhm.
ladies I was hanging out with, they moved immediately. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Playa definitely will have that effect on you. And I agree with you that Tulum is definitely a great place to hang out. And I think when the world was shut down, it was a great place to plant yourself as well, just to not have to deal with all of the things that were happening,
Mhm.
around the world. But Black in Tulum, it's still popping. They still
Yes.
have a lot of activities, and if you hear echo, guys, we know we were trying to figure out what it was, but we'll get through it. So, um, okay, so you went to Playa, not even knowing if you were going to be able to make it back to Tulum. Did you make it back to Tulum that night, or were you able to get a taxi? Do you remember?
We made it back to Tulum the next day.
Okay.
And then I think the next day was when we kept getting like messages online, like Black and Tulum was really keeping us connected about the weather, and they were just like, this is going to be one of the worst hurricanes in like 3 decades, like if y'all can leave. And so I ended up getting a flight with Delta. It was expensive, very expensive,
Mhm.
but the fact that I was able to
Make it
get
out.
out and, yeah, get back to the US. So So yeah, I did make it back to Tulum, but since then I have not spent time in Tulum since 2020. Yeah, I've
Oh,
not been back to Tulum. I've gone. I went to Playa to visit again in this past July, but I have not been back to Tulum. I guess maybe I'll go. I know they have a new airport now.
yeah, you could
Yeah.
fly into there. There's a direct flight actually from New York on JetBlue that goes into Tulum now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, well that was an interesting. I don't think I remembered that you were there for a hurricane, and the fact that you were able to make it to Playa through all of that right before you had to evacuate, and
Hmm.
then fell in love with it, and then decided to later call it home for some time. Again, just I just believe that was divine. Like you were supposed to make it there, you were supposed to experience it, and it was going to be your destination for your career break. So, speaking of culture shock, you talked about culture shock, and people going to the continent as their first destination after leaving the U.S. Was there any form of culture shock, like anything when you came to Mexico initially that you were like, "Ooh, I wasn't expecting this," or that gave you a little bit of culture shock?
I think here in Dallas, I'm just so used to getting in my car and driving everywhere. I know there's a lot of cities in the U.S. to where public transportation is probably a little bit more accessible, but in Dallas, it's like I'm so used to the freedom of getting in my car and be able to go anywhere. Playa del Carmen specifically, I think the biggest problem wasn't like language or anything. I think the biggest problem was transportation and taxis. That is the
Yeah.
biggest issue because there's a lot of cities in Mexico that provides
Uber.
Uber and
Mhm.
all even Merida has Uber and of course Mexico City
Mhm.
had all different. They had more services.
Guadalajara,
Yeah,
yes.
everywhere except Playa does not have it. You have to get in a taxi and hail a taxi down, and every time you get in a taxi, they're trying to charge you a different price. And so I feel like that was really frustrating. I felt like a lot of times, like that was stuck in certain areas because there's times where I didn't want to fight with a taxi. So I'm just like, I'm just not going to go. Or it made it to where I walked a lot because I didn't want to fight with a taxi. So I did get very much so in shape from doing a lot of walking. So I think that was probably the
Okay.
biggest thing. Because with Playa, even if you don't know a lot of Spanish, it's not that big of a deal in Playa. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's
Okay.
anything else that felt like a culture shock. I think I don't know. It's like being in Playa didn't feel like it was just such this crazy culture shock. And I think one thing about Playa is like you can tell that you're not in the U.S. There was just like a peacefulness about Playa. And
Mhm.
so I do feel like a lot of my anxieties, I felt a lot of peace. I felt, I know it sounds like dramatic, but I felt kind of like I was in a movie because every day it's just like I'm not having to do the standard wake up, go to work, and the hustle and bustle. The fact that every day it's like, oh, I'm gonna get up and go to this, really nice little restaurant, that has all these cold pressed juices and this really fresh seafood. Or I'm gonna go to a beach club. I'm
Right.
gonna go to this, and everything was just so like. Every shop and every restaurant was so like adorable, so I don't know if quaint is the word, to where it's like the decorations and just everything just felt like um the aesthetic and nature, and you're sitting outside and listening to nature, and then they're bringing you your food while you're sitting outside eating, and just I don't know, it just felt so peaceful.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like culture shock wise, I don't know that I had the same I don't know that I would put that on the list of culture shock as far as the car services, but I totally agree with you. See, I'm a New Yorker, so haggling and always having, taking taxis before the Uber revolution is something that I'm comfortable with. So, although we don't want to have to do that, we want simple, we want easy. That wasn't the culture shock for me. I will say that I think I remember the time we were at a barbecue at Diva's house, and Diva lived on the other side of the highway, and it was late, after hours, so to speak. It wasn't in the wee hours, but trying for all of us to get a taxi
Okay,
back.
we were all, because I was at that barbecue as well.
Yeah.
It was like 20 of us, right?
It was a lot. And we were all headed back to Diva was good because she was home. I think there was another I forgot her name.
It was also man, why is my brain? Oh my
I know.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
But it was about 15 to 20 of us trying to get back to the other side of Playa del Carmen with no Ubers. So you had to text somebody, wait for somebody to text you back. And it wasn't us doing it. I think Diva had the numbers and somebody else had the numbers.
And then Kayla also.
Yes, Kayla. Exactly.
Yes, Kayla lived in that complex as well. So I think it was Kayla that was able to text some taxi service. I don't know if they did radio taxi. That's another thing. Like when you first move to Playa, you'll find other people in the Black community, or just other Black expats who will give you all your resources. So they might say, here's this number for radio taxi. Here's this number for this is a good spa. This is a good, here's the information for Rappi and all these services. But radio taxi did not always work.
Right. And it didn't work inside of the city limits a lot of time because they could only pick up and drop off at certain places. They couldn't compete with the taxis inside of the zone. And when Sonja was talking about the Ubers, there is still a big kind of like type of war going on between the taxi drivers and them fighting Uber coming into Playa del Carmen. So yeah, I do agree that it was not the easiest to have to navigate the taxis, especially if you wanted to leave outside of the zone. And even if you were in the zone paying way too much money to go 5 minutes because you're a gringo. And so, yeah, I do agree that the car service can be an angst to many people. And that's why a lot of people have bicycles when they move there. So again, you had done a lot of planning, right? You had been there before, you had met with people the first time and then got a sense of the town, the playa, the city. Would you recommend to anyone doing a career break, a sabbatical, you insert whatever you want to call it, would you recommend that they go like sight unseen? Because we're talking very, positively about Playa right now. Would you recommend that that's a okay place for someone to go sight unseen, or would you recommend, dipping your toe in the water first?
I feel like it depends on the person. I feel like Playa is a spot that especially if you're someone to where like you can go with the flow. Playa is a spot that you can just kind of show up. Of course, show up with your with your safety nets. Show up, make sure you have enough money, make sure. Because at the end of the day, it's like if you don't like it, if you have set up things well, because it's not that far from the US.
Right.
If you've set up things well enough, you can be like, you know what, I hate this, I'm leaving. There were ladies who came, I guess kind of sight unseen, and we thought like, okay, these are our new sisters, they're part of group, and they're just kind of like, this is not for me. It's like, and they were packing up and on their way, and they thought like, oh, I thought Playa was going to be the place. And maybe after a week being there, they're like, this is not for me. Now there's some one lady that talked to. She said the beach is not her thing. Like she doesn't like the beach like that. And she ended up moving to Mexico City,
Mhm.
and then now I think she's in Colombia. But she was there in Playa, and she said, yeah, she doesn't like the beach like that. I think also like with Playa, if you do have the PTSD with like police officers and stuff, like people seeing the police officers holding
Oh, the
automatic
rifles.
weapons,
Mhm.
some people get, I don't know why, that was something to where I was like walking up to them and talking to them, you know, it's like
Right.
I didn't feel, and they're, you know, I didn't feel any kind of way, but some people that feels very uncomfortable, and I respect that. So some people didn't like the idea of like even you on the beach, it's like they showing up like just
Right.
driving with automatic weapons. Some people don't, you know, that feels like, are you serious? You know, some people that is going to disturb them. So that was one thing that a lady told me that she didn't like the idea of going to a lot of places and seeing you know, people holding automatic weapons, you know.
And that's interesting because that's all over Mexico. I saw that in Guadalajara. I saw it in Puerto Vallarta. Like I've seen police presence with the, large pyung pyungs all over Mexico. And so I actually feel safer when I see that. But I guess if I don't have traumas, associated with police either. So I don't know. But I actually prefer to see that. And like you're right, every Sunday on the beach, they would come and do their beat, and they're fully in uniform. It's not, they don't look like they don't belong there. I mean, I actually feel bad for them because they're in full uniform. They wear those, like, I guess, sand guards or dust guards over their face. But yeah, so you
Yeah.
definitely, if you don't want to see police officers, then Mexico may not be the destination for you. You're right. And I was somebody who went sight unseen, so and fell in love. So again, I have been to Mexico Cancun many times, but had never made it to Playa. And again, it was just a risk that I was willing to take. And like you said, there's an airport not too far. If it didn't work out, I could come back home and try something else. So yeah, so I guess I have a question about, I guess, we talk about highs, but I also like to be realistic with people because there are a lot of people in this community that are either in the process of getting their residency, in the process of figuring out their move to Mexico. And I also know that sometimes it's really just about catching a beat, right? Sometimes you just need to take a pause. Sometimes we overthink too much about permanency, like this is going to be my next home, before really digesting that you could really just take a beat. So can you share with us, because did you get your residency or no?
I did not, and it's funny that now that I'm, you know, been back in the US for I guess almost 2 years now, now I'm just like, I'm gonna get my residency. It's like now I'm but also I think a big thing was I don't know what all the stipulations or all the requirements were, but in 2022 I was not working at all. So
Right,
there's certain things to where you have to provide documentation
right.
and all this stuff. So I think that that was a big thing to where when everybody else was getting their residency, I was just like, I, you know,
You're not at
don't
that
want to
state.
have to prove something, don't have the things to prove the qualifications. So now, and honestly, I should have done it last year, but now that I've gotten back, I'm like, okay, now I'm, you know, back to working. Thank God, been working from home for the entire time that I've been back here in the US.
Okay.
So now is a time to where I'm like, okay, let me look into um, residency now.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely fine. The fact that you didn't have to try to say, okay, let me figure out how I'm going to get residency before I make this trip or take this sabbatical. I think I don't want people to not experience what a break can feel like, what a pause can feel like, what just releasing some of the tensions and the angst could feel like, because you feel you need to get residency because you hear other people talking about it. So you can take a break. Mexico, for the most part, still is a place that gives you a longer temporary, visa entry, tourist visa, than most places. I did hear they started, like, some people were only getting 40 days this past month, but for the most part, people are still getting 180 days to explore, experience, and enjoy. And so you don't have to, if you're not there yet, because there were people on here saying, oh, I don't know if I make the requirements, I don't know. Go visit, go check it out. This may not even be for you. Like, just take a beat. You don't have to think so far ahead. I do encourage people to have options. Like, if you can get a visa someplace else, definitely do. But if you are in that state of high functioning depression or just depression, and you need to take a pause from all of the madness that is happening now, and it's going to get worse, then go ahead and do so. And there's a lot of people, you can build community with people in your same position. And so, yeah. So you went as a solo woman traveler, right? You went not really having, your core friends and family there. Can you just speak to what that was like? Were there any times where you became just like homesick, or you were like, this isn't for me? Like, what was your experience as a solo woman traveler who basically had to you helped form the community that was out there when I was there. So, and you were the lead of that community. So can you share what that process was like and how you managed through it?
It's weird the way I was out there, and I have a great community here as well. But I think during the panini or pandemonium or wherever I don't know if we still
Right.
can say it. During that time, I just feel like a lot of my close family and friends, we weren't seeing each other like that. We weren't, there wasn't the happy hours, there wasn't the little apartment kickbacks and all the stuff that it's like I had really kind of stopped seeing everyone here. So when I went there, I didn't feel like, oh, I miss my family. And the reason why was because there's still technology. And when I was in Dallas, that's the way I was communicating with them here. It's like when I'm in Dallas, the only thing we do is either talk on the phone or we started doing Zoom and video calls during, that time. But when I moved to Mexico, I'm like, we're doing the same thing. We're still either talking on the phone or doing some type of video call. It didn't feel any different.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people came to visit. So, I mean, that's the thing. When you're in a beautiful place, people weren't coming to visit me in Dallas, but they're flying to another country to visit me in Mexico. So, that's the thing. When you're in a beautiful place, people will come to visit.
Mm-hmm.
You'll still be in contact with people. So, I felt like I needed to get away so bad because with the hostile work environment that I was in, I just wasn't recognizing myself. I feel like I was, it's like you start to feel like just anxious and antsy, and you can just feel it in your body. So I needed that so bad. And the healing was just such an ongoing thing to where I was transforming. I didn't even have the time, or I didn't have any feelings of like, I miss my family. Now, towards the end, when things had really reopened in the US, because I feel like Mexico had reopened before things in the US had.
Oh, way before.
Yeah, way before. So by the time the end of 2022, it's like things is back to normal. It's like I did some filmmaking in the past, and I was in Mexico watching my friends getting back to filmmaking. And I was like, just watching from afar, I'm just like, oh man, like it's like maybe I need to, get back. I mean, there's a lot of things that made me feel like I need to get back. But I think towards the end, it's almost like my time and it had served its purpose. And it's almost like I was starting to kind of feel depressed at the end. So
Mm,
it's kind
yeah.
of like, okay, if I came here to heal, but now towards the end, it's like I'm feeling depressed here, and it's like, okay, so this must mean it's time to make a move back and then reset and just decide what I'm going to do in the future.
Okay. Now, before we let her just skip over the filmmaking comment, Sonja is also a filmmaker. And can you share the name of the short film that's on your YouTube? I fell in love with it. It's the dating one. I can't remember the name of it. So can you share that one? I'm actually going to put that in the description too. The link to her website, her YouTube channel is there already. But I love that short film. Can you share more about that and where you are in filmmaking right now?
Yes, and when I say the name of my short films, people are like, "What?" It's Desperate Chocolate, and then the second one's Desperate Chocolate Chanel's Story. So, and the reason why I initially started writing a short film about online dating was years ago. I tried online dating, and I was just kind of in a spot to where I felt like everyone around me, I saw everyone in relationships. Everyone's posting, their Christmas pajama matching, Christmas pictures, and everyone's getting married. Everyone's posting their babies, and I was just like, man, like, what is wrong with me that like I'm single and everyone else is? And that's the thing, when we're in a situation, sometimes we feel like what everybody else has, which is not true. Like, I mean, statistically or just the numbers wise, it's like single people are outnumbering the married people. But it's like when
Exactly.
you're in a mood, you feel like you're the only one. So that's what prompted me to write and produce Desperate Chocolate, and just kind of about a woman who feels like everywhere she looks, everyone else is in love but her. And so she goes on these dates, but they're insane. And kind of, I mean, I think the dates that I went on were probably worse than what was going on in the movie. It was like so crazy until I felt like, is somebody pranking me? Like, who sent you? Did my sister send you? It's kind of like that. So
Yeah.
I felt like it was a lot of fun. So it's like anything that we go through to where it may seem like, okay, this is, end up bad. It's like, as a writer, it's like you have to use it for your good, and not just in a sense of like write someone's life story. It's like you take certain pieces and, make
Mhm.
it work. But that was the first one. Then the second one was Desperate Chocolate Chanel's Story, about a married woman. After she finds out that her husband is cheating, she's like, we're gonna make this marriage work. It's like, okay, you have to give me the opportunity to go out there and date and see if
Mhm.
I want to make this marriage work. It's like, you can't go out there and see a bunch of women, then you get caught. It's like, okay, well then I get to do the same thing. And so she goes to online dating to see, it's like, okay, if I date these other men, will I continue to want my marriage to work, or will I decide there's something better out there?
Yeah. So if you're looking for some good entertainment, please check those two short films out. They are so I'm highly critical of short films and documentaries because I've seen so many bad ones that people just put together in a rush. And I'm a media major, so I give her documentaries a 10 out of 10. So if you can go ahead, check it out. Documentary, short film, sorry. The short films, Desperate Chocolate and Desperate Chocolate, the Chanel Story. Yeah, so they're
Yes.
both on her channel at Sonja Unapologetic. And so, okay, just a few more questions. If you have a question for Sonja, please put it in the chat, but please use the question mark or QQQ so I can spot them quickly, because I know y'all like to chit chat in in the chat. So I want to be able to get to your question.
While you're looking for the questions, I'm also going to quickly talk about kind of where I'm at right now.
Oh,
Right,
yes.
right now I'm writing, or I've finished writing a feature film, and so next year my plan is to film this feature film. Now, we've talked about, Black women dealing with mental health, hostile work environment. So that's what I want to focus on, Black female protagonists who has the weight on her shoulders of her personal life, dealing with grief, but also dealing with being in a dead end job or a hostile work environment. So it's like a lot of times with Black women, it's not just one thing that we're dealing with. Because a lot of times when you watch a movie, it might be, okay, she's dealing with, she's looking for love, or she's dealing with, the passing of a family member. But a lot of times for Black women, we're dealing with many things. We're dealing with, family member passed away.
Right.
You may just have lost your job, or you didn't lose your job. You're dealing with a boss who is harassing you. You're dealing with a relationship to where it's like you and your man fighting all the time. It's like, it's not just one thing that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a zillion different things, and we're expected to smile through it. And if we don't, it's just like, okay, she has an attitude. It's like we're not allowed to be human. So I really want to explore that not only in this next film, but many films. It's like the things that we talk about, the things that prompted us to go take a sabbatical. I want to explore that in film. So I'm going to move towards more serious things. And so y'all cheer me on, because I definitely need the encouragement.
We will cheer you on. The Gym Nation will pray for you. We will send positive energy your way, because that filmmaking process is not an easy one. And so the fact that you have finished the script, congratulations, kudos to you. And so I did want to ask you, it was supposed to be part of the culture shock, but when it comes to like the food in Mexico, I know you have been since you started visiting in 2020. Was that something that you had to adjust to? Are you a fan? Because you live in Dallas. So are you a fan of Mexican food? But what was the adapting to new cuisine on a more daily, regular basis? What was that experience like?
I love the food. Well, okay, I love the food in Playa del Carmen. The only thing that can make you feel sometime where you feel like you're getting the same stuff over and over, you can start to feel like that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I do feel like Playa is one of those cities to where you still have some options. I feel like Playa was the beginning of my diet probably changing for the rest of my life. Like before, then I probably would eat like heavy cheeses or whatever. I don't think I ever went back to eating like still not. Like there was no, they
Oh,
made macaroni and cheese for Thanksgiving. I was like, I don't want none.
oh
So,
wow.
I don't think I'll ever go back to that. I don't even think my system would be able to handle, because like people think Mexican food is like, no, Tex-Mex, you might get a whole bunch of cheese and this and that and this. When you're in Playa, when they make you a taco, it's gonna be the meat and some the onions and cilantro maybe, and then the sauces is gonna be the thing that is going to give you the flavor. But like all this cheese and like sour cream and things that we think is Mexican food, that is not it. So I feel like it allowed me to eat healthier. Another thing, they have a lot of the agua frescas.
Oh, yes.
So it's like instead of like drinking soda, like pretty much the only thing I would have when I went out was either water and agua fresca. So I mean, I don't even think there was any Dr. Pepper in Mexico at all. So Dr. Pepper used to be my thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe since I've been back here, I've maybe had Dr. Pepper maybe a couple of times. But yeah, I don't drink Dr. Pepper anymore. Like there's just a lot of things to where it's caused my way of eating to be a lot better. I did kind of stumble for a while, but now I'm back into eating very clean, working out, and yeah, I feel like my way of eating will never go back. And my family's from Louisiana. It's like I'll never. I went to visit Louisiana. I was still like not eating. I mean, I tasted some of the things, but I was not eating the way I normally eat.
Oh, okay. So that is so interesting that I didn't know that, because I was going to ask you, how did travel change you? So that would be one of the ways. But you're right, because if you're used to tacos here in the US, like Americanized tacos with the taco salt sauce and the extra sour cream and all that other stuff, that's not the Mexican way. That is really the American way. And it was so upsetting to me when I went to Mexico and realized that chimichangas, which used to be my favorite Mexican food here in the US, which is a fried like burrito, I guess you could call it. You could barely find a chimichanga in Mexico, and it would have to be at an Americanized like Mexican restaurant. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things about the food culture in Mexico that are so appealing. Like you said, the agua frescas. And for those of you that don't know what an agua fresca is, it is simply the freshest fruit with water, right? It's water and the fruit, and it is spectacular. So you can get anything from watermelon to, the standard peach, and the list goes on. But yeah, so and then Playa is also, it's kind of like a cheat code for those who really want to have options, because there's so much variety when it comes to restaurants. If you don't like Mexican food, that's fine, because guess what? They have every other type of restaurant on Fifth Avenue that you could think of. So yeah, you were the one who told me, this was so unique to me. You were the one who told me that you could get money delivered. Like, you know how you do Uber Eats? You had money delivered to you from, was it Rappi? Can you share about that?
Yes, Rappi delivers money. It is like, when I first found that out, it was like so crazy, because you just go in there and you pick your amount and they come with money, but it's like so crazy. It's just kind of like, are you Sonja? It's just kind of like, hey, here's the money. It's like at first you just feel like, it's like, am I supposed to be doing this? No, I mean, it just feels like so weird to have someone knock on your door and it's just kind of like, well, what's the code? It's like, okay, well, here's the code. Okay, I have the money. It's just so crazy. But yes, because I mean, and the good thing about that is, for a lot of people who get to Playa del Carmen or just Mexico in general, a lot of people don't know how to use the ATMs. It could be, it can be, difficult. It's like I started to learn. I felt like going to Santander was probably one of the better options. But a lot of people struggled and they felt like they didn't know what to do and they were having a hard time using the ATM. So if you felt like you were having a hard time using the ATM, maybe just go ahead and do Rappi until you can figure it out so you can have some money. But yeah, I would do the, I don't know if it was called Rappi Money. And yes, Stephanie in the chat, she's just kind of like money delivered. Yes, they will deliver like a mobile ATM and they're showing up with your money, delivering money. That's crazy. I don't even think nowhere in the US does that.
I have never heard that. I've looked when I first came back after you shared that experience, I was like, money delivery. And it's like, you get Western Union, things like that, but nothing local. So literally think DoorDash or Uber Eats. But if you need cash out the ATM, you go on your phone from your home, put in the amount, and wait for the delivery guy. So yeah, that people sleep on Mexico and how advanced they are in many areas, but that was one that was very shocking. And so I just have one more question for you. So anyone in the audience, if you have a question, put the Q in front. Sonja's here. She can answer any of your questions about, taking a career break temporarily, right? To get yourself back together, right? To start feeling normal again and start to release some of that toxicity that, has been building. So if you have a question, go ahead and put that in the chat. But I would like to ask you, you left Mexico, you ended up going back, right? And then coming back again, right? So that's not the question I have for you, but can you talk about that for a second before I get into the question?
So what had happened was, okay, so I took off from working in 2022, but I was still looking for jobs because money was starting to run out. I really feel like I pretty much had like a year, and after a while I had to get back to work. But before my money, I didn't want my money to run all the way out, so I continued to look for jobs. I found a job here in the US, but a lot of jobs were not okay with you working abroad, especially, what I do, with the, security of the things that I do. It's like a lot of, they will not want you to work in another country. So I came back to the US, but it was going to be work from home. So I figured, that I would like try to, see what the deal was and see how I can get back to Mexico. But when I came back to US in July of 2022, that job ended up being another hostile work environment. Even though I was working from home, it was like horrible. It was so stressful. I felt like I was having panic attacks. I won't say the name of the company,
Right.
but the thing that was like the craziest for me was they were supposed to be training us, but like if we would ask questions, it's like management didn't want us in a group chat without a manager in the group chat.
Oh no, not
And so,
adults.
yeah, and so I was just kind of like, okay, so I couldn't like reach out to my coworkers and like ask a question, but like one coworker, and I didn't even know who he was. It's just like, hey, I'm gonna say like Michael, for instance, like, hey, Sonja, this is Michael. Can I call you? And I don't know if he called me on my cell phone or if he called me like through the job system. And so I got on the phone. I'm thinking to myself, I was like, is this a manager? Like, who is this guy? He's just like, hey, Sonja, I know you're new here. They don't like us like talking to each other like this. But if you need any help with anything, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why don't they want us to talk to each other? It was just so like stressful. Like that was the only time like I ever had to where it's like they didn't want us talking to each other without management. Some of these some of these companies are crazy. So I knew like I couldn't come from the peace of Mexico and was running away from hostile work environments to end up in this insanely controlling environment. So I ended up quitting that job. So it was like in 2022, I ended up quitting 2 jobs in 2022. So I ended up quitting that job and ended up going back to Mexico.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew there was 2 states. I just didn't remember like the dates or why. Because I had already left by that time. I left in June. So, yeah. So, okay. I do want to ask you, since the thumbnail said take a career break abroad and change your life, can you just summarize how your career break changed your life?
Yeah,
Or
it really
life changing? Yeah.
It really did, because I know a lot of people think like maybe it's just being dramatic, but it did because I was able to step away from those hostile work environments. I understood that that wasn't normal for our lives. It's like our health, our heart, everything does. We're not built for that, and especially as Black women, I think a lot of times we think, well, I'm strong, like I can just deal with whatever. It's like I just don't feel like we're built for that. So it changed my life from me understanding like that's not something I can ever accept in life again.
Mm.
Any job that I get into, it has to be just a place where I can breathe. And thank God the whole time that I've been here back in the US, the first job that I had back here was a contract job. So the contract just ended. It wasn't, that anything bad happened. But that first job, it was my first year back here. My friends were like, Sonja, do you have a job? I'm like, yes, like I do have a job. They're like, you're never talking about it. You're never stressed. Like everybody else was like stressed and talking about their jobs. They're like, do you even have a job? Like they're like, Sonja's back, but I don't think she's working, because it was that like just
Peaceful.
stress free and peaceful. And and even like my boss at the time, and this was just so funny because I was used to like more like micromanagers. It's like I would just like reach out to him like, hey, I just kind of want to know that you feel like I'm doing right. And so I would message him and I'll just be like, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything okay. And he would just be like, yeah, you're doing great. And then so I would go message him back. He's like offline. I'm like, oh, he's going to talk to me. Okay. It's like, he's just like, I'm not going to babysit you if you feel like you're doing well. So yeah, that whole year, I feel like I produce a lot better when I'm
Mm.
just left alone. I feel like my boss thought I was doing amazing at the end of the contract. Like, let's make sure we link up on LinkedIn, because in the future, if you can work under me again, like it was great. And then even the job that I'm at right now, I feel like, it's a little bit more than what the first job was, but still working from home. It's still like just a lot more peaceful. And when you're at peace, I know someone asked about the writing stuff. It's like we have to get at peace because that helps with our creative process. If we have so much going on in our mind, it's like um we really can't write. I know someone was asking about like community. Yeah, I feel like you do have to get into a community. If you're trying to write films, you want to get into the film community in your area. And even if you haven't started writing, see what like independent filmmakers are having their premieres. So like for me, even though I hadn't, put out a movie since I've been back to Dallas, I've been going to people's their film premieres. So anytime I see an independent filmmaker that I know who is putting out a movie, they'll do like a little red carpet premiere. We'll go like watch the movie. They'll do Q&As. So I'll go and support and network. So I feel like that's very helpful when you go out and support others, network, understand their process. And so you can just kind of get into the community and people know your face and know who you are. And I guess stay motivated to write. As far as edit, I was editing my YouTube videos. I don't edit like the actual films. Staying motivated to write is difficult. I think sometimes what helps me stay motivated to write is reading. And for me, if I can go back and maybe reread some of my first scenes, it pulls me back in with the character and gets me back connected with the character and be like, okay, I need to keep writing this. So sometimes if you don't have the strength to write that day, maybe just go back and spend some time with your characters and reread some of the other stuff that you've done. And I feel like that kind of pulls you back into their world. I don't know, it probably sounds real cheesy and artsy, but.
And I also say, and it was a video that I did the other day. So I don't write films, but I do write other things. Like I have to do presentations, I have to do decks, whatever. That hyper focus mentality where you just have to literally don't say you're going to start, just start from when that time, like when you get into that mode, like, okay, I have to write this, blah, blah, blah. Start right then and there, and then make a pledge to yourself that you are going to commit, similar to this series, right? It started with, I came in, we're going to do 7 days of live to get our stay ready momentum going. And then it just morphed into what it did. So that hyper focus mentality can really help. If you missed that video, it was 2 days ago, or maybe, no, yeah, 2 days ago. So check that out. And also week by week, right? Each week do a check-in. I'm a 4-week strategy girl, a 28-day strategy girl, and it has helped so much in achieving results. Now, writing is a lot more creative, right? So if you get that creative block, what is it called? The writer's block, right? You have to find a way to power your way through that. But I know as far as just beginning the process, you have to commit to starting. Stop planning to start, right? You have to start. And so we have more questions. So just to summarize what you said about how taking that career break abroad changed you, you realized what your boundaries were and what you were not willing to go back to, what you were not willing to tolerate as an adult, a fully functioning, smart adult woman. You were not willing to be babysat anymore. You were not willing to allow jobs to really just dictate your happiness anymore. And if you start feeling a certain way, like when you came back and took that job and realized, oh, no, you took action. And so that's why we want to encourage this audience, whoever's listening, either now or in the future, to challenge yourself, to take the fear out of it, however you have to do it, and take the break that you need. And I always say, even if it's not abroad, you may be in a state that is doing damage to you, right? You may be in a state where you're thinking about, freezing your eggs or doing whatever, but now you may not be able to, whatever that motivation is to get you to act, to to change your life, then, I encourage you to do that. And Sonja, we're going to get to a few questions. I see a few in here, but I think they're pretty. Like one was, how do you spell Rappi? Rappi. Not IE. I think you put IE, so it's Rappi. What was the number one thing that helped you heal? The number one thing.
Man, I don't know if it was just one thing. I think what helped me heal was getting away and quieting my mind. So, those days of, sitting on the beach and hearing the ocean. So when I was able to get a lot of distractions out the way, the fact that I, wasn't working for that year, the fact that I was able to actually sit with myself and reflect, I think that helped me to heal. And then I just started to think about, okay, was it that I want for a future? Was it that I don't want to stay the same? Was it that I don't want to accept? And so I think just getting rid of distractions and really being able to sit there with yourself and really reflect, that was helpful. I don't know if that really answered or that went all around, but I hope that helps.
Well, I think I got what I took from that was really quieting your mind, removing distractions, and you were able to do that in a peaceful place, right? You went someplace peaceful and were able to build community and do that. How do you stay motivated to write? Did you answer this one already? How do you stay motivated to? You did?
Uh-huh.
Okay. There was another one. Hold on. We'll start here. How do you get actors for your films? Were they your friends you met while traveling?
The way I got actors for the first films was we put out casting calls. There were certain like sites at the time that we put out casting calls on, and then we put out like casting calls on social media as well. I don't even know if I was using Instagram at the time. So I think everything was done on Facebook at the time. So either I think Backstage was one of the sites that I put out casting calls and then put out casting calls on social media. But then I actually did in person, like I didn't do virtually, I did in person auditions to where they came, we had the camera, they had to look at the camera and say, hi, my name is whoever from this agency, and then read their lines. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And you had a full budget, though. You had a budget for this production. So it wasn't like you were asking your friends to be part of it, right? Okay.
Yes, which is better. Because I mean, this is the thing, like your friends and family, everybody's gonna tell you, I can act.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody's gonna tell you they can act,
I did a play in high school. Exactly. So Stephanie wants to know, what is your rough estimate for the cost of living in Playa for a single woman who is all about going with the flow?
That's okay. So this is the thing about Playa del Carmen, and then of course, I haven't lived there in a couple of years. Right. Playa del Carmen can fluctuate so like you might have someone spending like more than what I'm spending in Dallas. There might be somebody spending $2,000 a month for an apartment. Depending on where it's at, because if you're closer to the beach, if you're you have more amenities, and then people across the highway may be spending. So like I don't even know if we should ever still believe the people who are like, oh, you go to Playa, you can get an apartment. Yeah, $300 a month. People will be lying, because people were telling me that like $600 a month, you shouldn't have spent any more than that. No.
Right.
I mean, there are some people who are in apartments that, like didn't have a shower and they were going to the gym to shower. So I guess it's just a lot of factors. I don't even know if it's right for anyone to be trying to give people a number anymore. I feel like anybody it's like they're just really pulling something out of air. And the thing about Playa is things can change so quickly. Like when I got there, the whole situation with like Ukraine was going on. When
Oh,
I first got there, they were actually walking in the streets. I'm like, how did they get these flags made so quick? It's like they were like protesting in the streets and everything. So that being said, a lot of people were coming from Russia and Ukraine. That shot the prices up.
right.
So there's a lot to where I can tell you now when one thing I will say, but I still think that this is probably not helpful. Before I left Playa, before I left the first time, I think my apartment was like 800 and some dollars. It was somewhat of a one bedroom, but it really was like a studio. It was definitely everything that you needed. Most apartments in Playa won't have a washer and dryer. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think. Like maybe like it's just hard to answer
Yeah.
that question.
And I will also add, it depends upon what part, like you said, where you want to live in Playa on the other side of the highway is cheaper than Central, right? If you want to live further, would that be north? Like if you're above the 50s, what is it, Calle 50 or whatever, the prices start to go down. But it also depends upon what time of the year you go, right? So if you go try to negotiate a contract in December or January, which is their high season, a lot of snow bunnies or snowbirds come from Canada and the US every year and stay in Playa. Um, you're not going to get the same rate that you would if you came in May and June, where it's less touristy or less people coming in. And I will also add, so the place that I stayed in 2022, the Lunata, beautiful place, 2 bedrooms, three bathrooms, excuse me, private bathroom in each bedroom, and then a main bathroom. Came with all the amenities, gym, rooftop, and all of that. Is $1,000 more now than what it was when I was there in 2022. So because people have been flocking, Playa, the growth rate there is, whoo, it's intense. And so there's no way to just give a general number. I would say at minimum per month for a rental, if you're not going high season, which is winter months in the US, well, let's say Northeast and Canada, I would say minimum you should expect to pay now if you want Wi-Fi, if you want air condition and all of that. Minimum, right? For someplace decent is $1,000, I would say now.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna say too. And
Yeah.
then I know when I went in July, one of the ladies that I know, she's been staying there since I was there, and her and her husband, they live like you said, the further Calles, like 50 or
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's 50. They may live like at 80 or something.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Cheap. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like it's not that bad. It's like they still live close to beaches, just further down,
Right.
the beach, because a lot of people want to be, probably 38th
Right. That's
to
where
like first, and so that's probably where a lot of people want to be. But then you're all the way at 80, but it's still you can walk all the way down and still get to where you need to get. So
yeah,
yeah, I think she's still it's her rent is not her and her husband's rent is not that bad. So
yeah.
there's just a lot of factors of what you're willing to take. Like some people would feel like I don't need all this, I don't need that, I just kind of need a room and somewhere to wash up. Some people
Mhm.
and other people need more. And I'm a type I feel like I need to have certain things.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
need to have certain things.
I need I definitely need air condition. That is non-negotiable. I need Wi-Fi. I need cable, even though most of the stations are in Spanish. Like, exactly. If you don't need air condition, if you don't mind walking up 4 flights of steps, if you don't need outdoor space, if you don't mind, maybe being in like you said, like the 80s, which it starts to get a little, it's not bad. Like it's not like New York rough bad, but it's rougher than, Central. But you may see some sketchy people. You don't hear about things really happening with expats there unless they're doing certain things. But yeah, so you're right. It depends upon what you want. It depends upon what you need. And if you're going for ease, then let's think 1,000 and up. And that's a 1 bedroom. Like I'm not talking like, you know, 3 bedrooms for your family and everything. But again, it could go up and down. Like right now, the US dollar is strong against the peso. When I was there in December, January, February of this year, it was a 16-to-1 exchange rate. Now it's back up to 20-to-21 exchange rate. So your money goes further now than it did when I was there almost a year ago. So lots to take into consideration. And then there are just people saying that they want to get on your list. I forgot where I saw that. Somebody said they want to get on your email list. Hold on. Cynthia says it's already successful, Sonja. So I think she's talking about your film. Oh, here it is. Dana says, put me on your mailing list. I need Black women film stories, please and thank you. Can they access you via email through your YouTube channel, or do you know?
They can email me at sonjaunapologetic@gmail. So yeah, also if on IG, like if you inbox me as well. But yeah, probably emailing me at sonjaunapologetic@gmail.
Okay. Yeah. Stephanie comments about your Dr. Pepper. She has given up the DP, Dr. Pepper. My mom used to like Dr. Pepper. Let me just, we're about to wrap up, so I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. So you deliver your money. Somebody will rob you if they deliver in the US. That's right. Was that a job? Okay, that's not a question. Good question, CC. I think we got through. Oh my God. She is. She really is. I tell you, made my stay. I mean, there was a community, and we used to get together every Wednesday for dinners and then different things throughout the week on the rooftops or whatever. And then, you did your own thing as well. And she's actually on the thumbnail of a video I put up like 2 years ago talking about Playa del Carmen. It was like one night, hey, I'm at the wine bar, and then we met up at the wine bar. And that's how it flows in Playa del Carmen. Like people just really, love to be in community with one another. And it's a great place to land. And like I said, Sonja made it just even more comfortable for me. So thank you for such a transparent, insightful guest. I appreciate you. Oh, Sonja looks real rested and she's glowing, isn't she?
I've been having a good year. Oh my goodness. I just came back from Jamaica a few weeks ago. Oh my goodness.
Wait, you were in Jamaica, right?
That's yes.
Jamaica, yeah.
Oh man. I told my friend who was with me, I said, if we had any more fun, we would have been in jail. Like if we would have had any, because she was just like, next trip, we're gonna have to make it better. I'm like, if we have any more fun, we're gonna be in jail. We cannot.
And you can end up in jail in Jamaica.
Oh man. So it was a lot of fun.
I saw some of the pictures on your IG. Yes, I saw some of the pictures on your IG. Jamaica, listen, some sun, some sand, some rum punches, some
coconut. We were had the and this thing too. So I eat better now. I'm just like, oh, that coconut water is hydrating. I'm like, yes, for sure. Give me a coconut for sure.
Okay, so thank you for sharing. Kiki B says, yes, Jamaica will do it. Child, Jamaica will definitely do it to you. Oh, you're welcome, LaRonda. Thank you for joining. So before we all head out, please do me a favor. Sonja has shared where you can find her. Instagram, Sonja Unapologetic. YouTube, Sonja Unapologetic. Is there any place else or anything else that you want them to know about? Be on the lookout for the feature film. We will definitely listen before she blows all the way up. we will try to get her back so she can tell us about the film and how it's going and all of that. And if she offers any type, I don't know if you do any type of mentorship for film, just keep us posted. I will share it with my community. But is there anything else that you'd like to share that you got going on?
Just continuing. Look, I mean, Instagram is definitely the best place because then that will, keep you guys updated, about film stuff. And, then once I get to a point to where it's made and I can do, what you call it, an actual premiere, then you guys can fly out. So, and then also when I'm in a point of like raising, money for the film, I'll also reach out to you guys as well. So any donations are greatly appreciated as well.
Yes, yes. Like I said, we had this conversation before. Crowdsourcing. I know so many filmmakers that's the only way they were able to get their product, their creative product released. And if you need help in that way, just please let me know. We will share that here as well. And yeah, just keep her in your prayers because, we're trying to get her residency as well. So God knows what's going to happen here, but she will have a home across the border. And I just thank her for being an inspiration to me. And I know she will be an inspiration to whoever hears this. And so, Sonja, if there's any parting words, you could take it away and then we'll go ahead and head out. And yes, please hit the like button before you leave. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want everyone listening to be encouraged, especially as, Black women. I just feel like we just deserve the world. It's like, do not let anyone make you feel like you're asking for too much or you don't deserve the desires of your heart. And then also our mental health. It's like, don't stay in a place of just feeling like you're getting beaten down or that, life is just, super, difficult. Make sure you take the steps to get to the life that you want to live. So I guess that's my last words.
Thank you so much. And you're a great example on how it can be done and not necessarily permanently, but just to get back to your glow. Look at everybody saying how much you are glowing. So, and I'm sure diet has a lot to do with that. And the fact that you were able to make that transformation is just so inspiring. I haven't quite made 100% transformation, but I do. That's why I like going back because you just eat so much cleaner and healthier and all of that. So thank you once again, Sonja, for joining us tonight. We look forward to following your journey. If there's anything we can ever do to help with your journey, don't hesitate to reach out to Gym Nation because we'll be here to support.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a good night, everyone.